in this developer diary, I'd like to talk about the F.E.A.R series and almost my personal story with horror games. So, I don't know, F.E.A.R, the original came out in like 2005 or something, and I was working at F.E.A.R Studios, and a coworker often stayed late and played video games at work, and so he had played F.E.A.R, and then he told me, like, oh man, you know, there's this point in F.E.A.R where, you know, I was so scared I literally backed away from my computer, and then, you know, I just had to shut the computer off, like, I couldn't play anymore, you know, that was it. Maybe it has something to do with, you know, that he was playing it in a dark office building, and the game is about dark office buildings, but, like, that sort of endorsement was like, oh my gosh, I have to check this out, right? Like, that's basically, you know, if someone says like, I got this huge reaction out of it, you know, I want to experience that. I want to find out what's so special about this game. And so I think it was one of my first horror games that I sat down to play. I know, maybe it was, I forget when F.E.A.R came out, but, you know, I played some Doom 3, I didn't quite finish it, and I watched my buddy play Silent Hill 4, and of course I saw people play Resident Evil back then, but I don't know if I ever really sat down and played a horror game from start to finish at that point, and I realize I'm a late bloomer, and I missed out on a lot of horror games, and I've been trying to make up for lost time lately, but, you know, like, that endorsement was just like, wow. And so, at the time, I was a bit skeptical how horror could work in the first-person viewpoint, because I felt like, you know, to some extent, controlling the camera, like in Resident Evil, or like Fatal Frame, they did a really good job, allows you to do different scares, whereas if, you know, you're running backwards, let's say I'm running backwards through the world of F.E.A.R, how are they going to do scares? And I think they did a really good job, and certainly, you know, Amnesia as well. You know, they're not the only first-person horror game. Now there's plenty, but you know, the first-person, especially the jump scares, they do a lot of in F.E.A.R, which I really like, and they did a really good job with the triggers, such that, you know, you're looking at the thing, and of course, I'm sure you could probably break the game by running backwards through it and missing all the scare triggers, but I don't really think anyone does that, so, and if they did, then they're ruining the game for themselves. So, unfortunately, like, when playing the game, my big goal was to find this moment in which, that my coworker said was so terrifying he had to just turn off the computer, and unfortunately I didn't see anything that stood out as that scary, but I definitely enjoyed the game. My only complaint about F.E.A.R and the F.E.A.R series is just that, you know, I feel like you should almost be fighting something more horrific, like fighting soldiers, and with your super John Woo slow motion bullet time. I'm not sure that goes hand in hand with horror, especially with the horror in the game that they're trying to go for. But I mean, certainly, you know, action horror is sort of a genre, you know, the Dead Spaces of the world, and while they're a bit too actiony for me, certainly I quite enjoyed, you know, Dead Space 1 and 2. And so recently I got the F.E.A.R Humble Bundle, or the Warner Brothers Humble Bundle, and so I played through F.E.A.R 2 and F.E.A.R 3, and it seemed like they sort of moved away from the horror roots, and F.E.A.R 2 had more action set pieces, you know, piloting a mech and turret sequences and stuff. I mean, it was nice to see more variety in environments, but there were a bit too many action set pieces for my taste. And F.E.A.R 3 definitely was more of an action game. I don't know if I'd even consider it a horror game, but they did have some really interesting horror levels. Well, at least one. Like, I really liked the level in the store. I thought that one was really cool. It had a really great mood, and you know, definitely put you on edge. So, I mean, all in all, I definitely enjoyed Fear, even though it's a little more actiony. You know, when you're a super soldier with slow motion powers and super guns, you don't feel super vulnerable. But I guess they sort of balance that by putting you up against Alma, you know, your mother-ish person. I guess depend on which game, but you know, who has like way more psychic powers or something.